Hancock Center. The crisscross bracing on the side of the building adds structural integrity and minimizes the need for large girders inside the structure. Like the Willis Tower in the Trump International Hotel and Tower, it was designed by the world-famous Chicago-based firm Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, who continue to specialize in the world's tallest buildings, including the current world's tallest, the Burj Khalifa Tower in Dubai. The John Hancock Center was completed in 1969. 875 North Michigan Avenue also includes an observatory on the 94th floor called 360 Chicago. The elevators to 360 Chicago are considered to be the fastest elevators in the Western Hemisphere, with a top speed of 20.5 miles per hour. 360 Chicago also includes tilt, the paneled windows on the south side of the observatory, which hydraulically extend about 30 degrees out and over Chicago's
¿Y tienen que pagar esos vatos de la jamote por meterse o qué?
Unique downward-facing views from 1,000 feet in the air.
Permiso. ¿Tiene que haber policía aquí en el mar?
The city of Chicago itself started with one trading post in 1773, which was established by Haitian Creole fur trader Jean-Baptiste Pointe-du-Sable. Chicago initially grew along the main branch of the Chicago River. The Chicago River is the beginning of a system of rivers and canals which connect Lake Michigan to the Mississippi River, allowing vessels to continue by water all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. The river was first discovered for Europe in 1673 by Louis Joliet and Jesuit missionary Jacques Marquette, French and French-Canadian explorers charged with the mission of mapping the Great Lakes for the Kingdom of France. They started in Montreal, Quebec, and came down the St. Lawrence River into the Great Lakes, determined to get to the Mississippi River and the Gulf of Mexico. Prior to the discovery of the Chicago River system, they would stop up north at what is now Green Bay, Wisconsin, and carry their canoes and supplies across Wisconsin to get to the Mississippi. The Chicago River portage proved a much easier and more direct trade route. The natives in the area at this time included the Fox, Potawatomi, and Sauk nations. Chief Blackhawk of the Sauk Nation is the namesake for the Chicago Blackhawks hockey team. Chicago is thought to be the French derivation of the indigenous word Chicagois, roughly translated as portage of the wild onion or land of the stinking onion. Chicago was incorporated as a town in 1833 and as a city in 1837 when its population reached 4,000. In 1848, Chicago got its first telegraph and railroad. Two innovations, grain elevators and the Board of Trade's wheat grading standards, quickly transformed the way crops were sold. By 1854, the city was the world's largest grain port and had more than 40,000 residents.
En la movie de Transformers se acaba la ciudad un pedazo, ¿no?
The growth of the city was rapid and haphazard and ultimately contributed to the Great Chicago Fire, which over 3 days in October of 1871 destroyed 1/3 of the downtown area, including most of what can be seen here on our tour. This large urban fire attracted architects who came to Chicago to rebuild the city out of the ashes. This is the origin of Chicago's nickname as the Second City. Through the innovation of these architects, Chicago established its reputation as a world leader in architecture, a reputation that it holds to today.
La noche en que Chicago se murió, ¿no?
Bueno, supuestamente Chicago se prendió porque en una farm, unas vacas, no sé qué hicieron, de una veladora, no sé qué, y Chicago se prendió en una parte.
Y es lo que estaba diciendo.
Y yo, allá también en las torres, ahí tenemos fotos donde enseña cómo están las llamaradas y hay unas vacas también. Es lo que significa la señora.
Órale. Pero el otro hay que traducir en español apenas, ¿no? ¿Qué pasa, mi amor? Mira los apaparaches al revés, mijo. Mira, ya vamos de regreso, vato. Una avioneta, ¿verdad? De veras. Mira ese. Esos corren recio, ¿verdad? Los guardacostas, los costas allá por... Chingón. Ya vamos de regreso, ¿no? Las 7.
Looking out at the lake, along the breakwater wall which
A lo mejor
borders
nos va a
and
llevar
protects
para
the
allá.
harbor is the historic Chicago Harbor Lighthouse. It was completed originally in 1893 and located near the World's Fair in Jackson Park, further south. The lighthouse was moved to its current location in 1919, situated to direct boaters to the opening of the Chicago River. The light is an active aid to navigation and unfortunately not open to the public. It became automated in 1979 and was designated as a Chicago landmark in 2003. Within half a generation after the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, Chicago architect and engineer William LeBaron Jenney perfected the iron frame technology that would allow for the skyscraper. The term skyscraper was first used to refer to the small sails set high atop the masts of clipper ships, but then was later applied to iron frame buildings. To the west, the tall, curved blue glass skyscraper with the tall white spire is the Trump International Hotel and Tower, designed by native-born Chicago architect Adrian Smith. An upscale residential tower and hotel, it stands 1,389 feet with 98 stories and it opened in 2009. The spire atop Trump Tower counts in the official height of the building. Spires are considered part of a building structure, whereas antennae, like on the Willis or Sears Tower, are not considered part of the building and therefore do not count in official. You may remember the final confrontation scene between Batman and the Joker in the 2008 film The Dark Knight. It was shot at the construction site of the then partially completed Trump Tower. Later, the tower was also one of the key locations used for the 2011 film Transformers: Dark of the Moon. From here we have a view of some of America's majestic buildings. The tall white rectangular building with what appear to be white vertical stripes is the Aon Center. It was completed in 1973, originally for Standard Oil. It was designed by Perkins and Will. The Aon Center stands 1,136 feet and has 83 stories. Although 875 North Michigan Avenue, or the Hancock Center, technically has 100 the top quarter of the Hancock Tower is comprised of residential floors. These tend to be shorter than office floors, so In May 2018, the owners unveiled a $185 million proposal for an observatory atop the Aon Center. The observatory will feature a thrill ride called Sky Summit, with an external elevator system which will be the tallest and fastest in the country.
Y ahí viene otra vez, mira.
Open in 2022. The Willis Tower, formerly known as the Sears Tower, is the black rectangle of glass and steel with two white broadcast antennae on top,
Willis
due
Tower.
west of Grant Park. It was the tallest building in the world from its completion in 1974 until 1998. It has 110
The
stories
Sears,
and
yeah,
measures
no, Sears Tower.
1,451 feet in the air. It includes an observatory on the 103rd floor called the Sky Deck. The sky deck is open every day from 9:30 a.m. until 10 o'clock p.m. and features a glass protrusion on the western side called the ledge, where visitors can step out and look straight down through their feet. The inspiration for the ledge came from hundreds of forehead prints visitors left behind on skydeck windows every week. From the memorable scene in the John Hughes film Ferris Bueller's Day Off to curious children going right up to the window, visitors are constantly trying to catch a glimpse below. Now, thanks to the ledge, they have a unique way to do so. The internal structure of the Willis Tower is actually a series of 9 columns of differing heights brought together for strength and flexibility. Each column is 75 feet square. Bundled together, they are stronger than one tall single column, much like how a bundle of sticks clutched together is harder to snap in half than a single stick. This design innovation is the template for today's tallest buildings. The tall, pink, octagonal building to the left or south of Willis Tower with the cylindrical top is named by its address, 311 South Blacker Drive. At 961 feet tall, it was once the tallest reinforced concrete building in the world. The top of the building is a 105-foot-tall translucent cylinder surrounded by 4 other smaller cylinders. This makes it among the most visible Chicago skyscrapers at night, as its crown is brightly illuminated. At its debut in 1990, the 5 cylinders on top were lit by fluorescent tubes. These have since been replaced by LED lights, which allow the bulbs to be dimmed or changed in color for holidays and special events. For a complete detailed tour of Chicago's world-famous downtown architecture, Shoreline Sightseeing offers 75-minute Chicago River architecture tours from February through December. Visit our box office for more information or visit shorelinesightseeing.com.
Mira ese barco, qué perrón. Estos son privados, es como un jet, ¿no? Un yate. Ese. Sí, porque ahí estuvimos viendo y había barcos que incluían el combustible, el capitán, el chofer por 3 horas. ¿Cuánto?
Now called the Crane Communications Building, it was completed in 1984 and designed by Epstein and Sons. Upon completion, developers discovered that ice would form on the slanted roof and break off and fall onto the sidewalk below. Heating pipes had to be installed to melt the ice and prevent accidents. The building became well known for its use in the climax scene of the classic Chicago film Adventures in Babysitting. The city's 17-mile shoreline park system was inspired by architect Daniel Burnham's city plan of 1909, in which he pledged that the city would keep its original promise that the lakefront should remain forever open, free, and clear, so that all citizens could enjoy the beautiful lake shore without interference from industrial development. Since the 1830s, the official motto of Chicago has been Urbs in Horto, Latin for city in a garden, for its commitment to green space and parkland. Chicago has 4 major lakefront parks: Lincoln Park, Grant Park, Burnham Park, and Jackson Park. Lincoln Park on the north side is Chicago's largest park, visited by over 20 million people each year. It is home to the Lincoln Park Zoo, one of the last free zoos in the United States. The Lincoln Park Zoo is open 365 days a year. There are 3 harbors in the downtown area. Just south of Navy Pier is DuSable Harbor, named for the first permanent non-native resident, the fur trader Jean-Baptiste Point DuSable. South of DuSable is Monroe Harbor, named for the 5th President of the United States, James Monroe. South of Museum Campus is Burnham Harbor, named after the famed Chicago architect and city planner Daniel Burnham. Part of the visitor shoreline is in fact landfill, which has been built out into the relatively shallow lakefront starting after the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. The burned out remains of the downtown were dumped into the lake, creating the base for today's lakefront parks. The landfill does not consist of domestic trash, but is mostly soil, sand, and construction debris. Michigan Avenue represents the original natural shoreline of Lake Michigan. Chicago's museum campus is a 57-acre addition to Grant Park's southeastern end. Museum campus is the site of 3 of the city's most notable museums, all dedicated to the natural sciences: the Adler Planetarium, the Shedd Aquarium, and the Field Museum of Natural History. The Field Museum was established with a generous grant from the family of Chicago retailer Marshall Fields and includes Sue, the largest and most complete Tyrannosaurus rex yet discovered. A narrow isthmus along Solidarity Drive connects Northerly Island to the rest of Museum campus situated on the mainland. The dome-shaped structure out on the tip of Northerly Island is the Adler Planetarium. It houses the Down Observatory, one of the only research-active urban observatories open to the public. Beyond Museum campus to the south is Soldier Field, home of the 1986 Super Bowl champion Chicago Bears football team. Opened in 1924 as Municipal Grant Park Stadium, it was renamed Soldier Field in honor of Army veterans of World War I. Soldier Field has served as the home venue for a number of other sports teams throughout history, including the Chicago Cardinals of the NFL, the University of Notre Dame football team, and the Chicago Fire of Major League Soccer. Soldier Field has also hosted games from the 1994 FIFA World Cup. The Chicago Cardinals used it as their home field for their final football season in Chicago in 1959. A dozen years later, in September of 1971, the Chicago Bears moved in. They previously played at Wrigley Field, best known as the home of the Chicago Cubs. The interior of the stadium underwent extensive renovation in 2002. Soldier Field is the oldest NFL stadium in the United States. In 1893, to the World's Columbian Exposition, a World's Fair to commemorate Columbus's arrival in the Western Hemisphere. The fair took place on the south shore of Lake Michigan at what is now Jackson Park. This is where the fair's chief designer, Daniel Burnham, designed the White City camper of the fair to resemble an ancient Greek or Roman city. But Burnham had a rival also designing for the fair, Louis Sullivan. Sullivan thought that Burnham was old-fashioned and encouraged his peers to use contemporary engineering and themes taken from nature and the surrounding prairie. Ultimately, both Burnham and Sullivan were to have a lasting influence on the Chicago skyline. The centerpiece of Grant Park is Buckingham Fountain, one of the world's largest fountains. The fountain, in a Rococo wedding cake style, was dedicated in 1927 as a gift to the city from Kate Sturgis Buckingham in memory of her brother Clarence. The fountain operates from April to October, with water displays every 20 minutes and a light and water display from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Right on the lakeshore at Buckingham Fountain is Queen's Landing, where Queen Elizabeth and the late Prince Philip came ashore from the royal yacht during a visit to Chicago in 1959 to commemorate the opening of the St. Lawrence Seaway. Chicago was the only U.S. city visited by the royal couple, and the late Prince Philip declared that the city's skyline was the most beautiful he had ever seen. Grant Park, named for America's 18th president Ulysses S. Grant, consists of 319 acres and is often referred to as Chicago's front yard or the playground of the city. Grant Park is home to Millennium Park and contains performance venues, gardens, artwork, sports, and other facilities. It hosts public gatherings such as Taste of Chicago and several large annual music events like jazz, gospel, and blues fests, as well as the Lollapalooza Music Festival. Millennium Park is our newest lakefront park, and it opened in 2004. It includes the Pritzker Concert Pavilion, designed by the world-class architect Frank Gehry, the Lurie Gardens, and the Bean, officially titled Cloudgate, an interactive bean-shaped public sculpture designed by Indian and British artist Anish Kapoor. It is the centerpiece of the AT&T Plaza at Millennium Park and one of the most popular pieces of public art in the Midwest. Because Millennium Park sits atop a parking garage and the commuter rail Millennium Station, it is considered the world's largest rooftop garden. We continue along the shoreline of the Great Lake Michigan, the largest body of freshwater in the continental United States. Water temperatures on Lake Michigan make it into the 60s in July and August, and can sometimes make it into the 70s when air temperatures have been in the 90s for a number of continuous days. Trout, salmon, walleye, and smallmouth bass are prevalent in the lake. The lake is also home to crawfish, freshwater sponges, and sea lamprey, both saltwater eel that enter the Great Lakes through the St. Lawrence Seaway. The lake is also home to a wide range of bird populations, including water birds such as ducks, geese, and swans, as well as crows, robins, and bald eagles. Predatory birds such as hawks and vultures are also prevalent in the lake due to the wealth of wildlife to feast upon. People often ask about tides on Lake Michigan. True tides, changes in the water level caused by the gravitational forces of the sun and moon, do occur on the Great Lakes. However, these changes are minuscule compared to the effects of the wind or barometric anomalies known as seiches. Consequently, the Great Lakes are considered to be non-tidal. Like all of the Great Lakes, Lake Michigan has had its share of shipwrecks. One of the most famous maritime disasters was the sinking of the Westmoreland, a steamer that sank near the Straits of Mackinac on December 7, 1854. It was rumored to be laden with priceless barrels of whiskey and a safe full of gold coins. The wreck was discovered by a diver on July 7, 2010, 155 years after the accident, in excellent condition. Sadly, exploration of the wreck so far has yielded no such treasures. During the Second World War, the Navy Pier was an active naval training base. Pilots were trained in the art of taking off from and landing onto boats. Two Great Lakes steamer ships, the Wolverine and the Sable, were converted to ready young pilots for the new technology of aircraft carriers. As a result, the lake bottom is littered with planes who missed the boat. Since this is a freshwater lake, the planes do not deteriorate to the extent they would in saltwater. Thus, the Naval Aviation Museum in Pensacola, Florida, often retrieves these wrecks, which are more easily restored for museum display. Like the other Great Lakes, Lake Michigan is still used as a major mode of transport for bulk cargo. Commercial cargo ships are a common sight on the Great Lakes. Transportation of cargoes such as grain, sand, and coal serve the region's farmers and manufacturers. The Port of Chicago, operated by the Illinois Paseo, is located further south down the western shore of Lake Michigan